Hey, what is going on YouTube? In today's video, we are going to take a look at a pre-commit hook within Git. And what that is going to allow us to do is going to essentially allow us to shift some things to the left. In this case, we are going to use it for linting, formatting, and stuff like that, and also checking what branch we're pushing to. And I'll explain that example in just a minute. And the reason why this can be important, especially for those that are solo developers such as myself, although I do use some of this in my workplace, as a solo developer on my side ventures, I do find this to be useful as I could essentially speed up the process as far as developing, testing, securing, and just kind of playing around with the code that I push out there. So with that being said, let's get right to it. So this is going to kind of go through it. So the first example that I'm going to provide is a pre-commit hook, and that's going to test what branch you were pushing to. So in this case, this could be important for those new developers that are out there if they are maybe pulling in. I mean, there's other ways around this. It's just an example to get an idea of how this works. But let's say you pull in a remote repository into your local, and you're going to go ahead and make some changes, and then you want to push it up to a remote branch. But for whatever reason, they don't have the protections in place to prevent you from doing so. And just to kind of, maybe they give you too many permissions and that's not really your place to say anything. So you can put something in place to prevent you from making those mistakes and pushing the master or main branch. And then, in theory, you could break a lot of stuff. So this could help prevent a lot of damage for those new developers that are out there. So with that, the first thing that we're going to do is going to do exactly that. So for the very first step, you're going to go ahead and run pip install. This is going to be in your terminal. You could do this in PowerShell or wherever. You go ahead and run pip and go ahead and run pip install pre-commit. I already have it installed. It's going to be a Python package to set this up. This is not necessary, but what this does is within your Git folder and inside of hooks, it's going to go ahead and create some files for us. These are all samples that are provided to us by Git once we initialize the Git repository on our local machine. But with the pre-commit is it's going to, which I'll show you in a minute, it's going to create us a file. So the next thing that you want to do is go ahead and create a pre-commit-config, and it's a YAML file. And in there, essentially, you're just going to have something simple as this, right? Repos, repo for local, and we're going to call it the hooks. We're going to name check branch. That's what we're going to identify ID as. And then we're going to name it prevents, or a description. We're going to say prevents commits on master branch. Entry, this is essentially what the command that we're going to do is to execute. So we're going to do python check branch.py, which is a local file that we had created. And then we're going to use the language Python. Always run is true, and stages is commit. So this is a pre-commit hook. Next, you want to go ahead and create another Python file. And this is all within just a sample folder called commit hook branch. I have two examples that I'm going to provide to you. So create another Python file, check_branch.py, which is going to be referenced here. And that's how this is going to get executed. And we'll just kind of walk through this very quickly. So we're going to import two Python libraries, pretty standard. And then we're going to create two functions. So we got get current branch and main. So main is going to be called off from the very beginning. And once main is called, we're going to set a variable current branch. And that's going to be equal to get current branch function. So whatever is returned here is what will be answered here. So then we're going to go up to here and we're going to run a try except block, and then we're going to run branch equals subprocess check output. And what that's going to do is essentially it's going to run this command here within the terminal, and then it's going to strip that from any new line characters or anything like that, or any spaces at the end of that, and it's just going to get that one. So we could actually run that here. So if you see, we got git and the rest of the command here, we have feature, and that's going to be the branch that we will be pushing to at this time. So if we run git branch, we'll see we have two branches, and this is the one that is selected. So that will be returned. So if this all works out, this try block works, we get the feature branch. We'll go back down to here. So we now have current branch equals feature, and then we're going to say if current branch equals master. Then we're going to print this error here, and we're going to do an exit code of 1. So how this hook works is if it is an exit code of anything other than 0, it will fail. And what that means is you will not be able to commit. So in this case, if it does equal master, we're going to do sys exit 1, and it will be a failure. And we're going to say error, commits are not allowed on the master branch. And that's only if that if statement is correct or true. Otherwise, we're going to go continue onward, and it's going to say print. Well, we're going to print to the terminal, and we're going to say branch, and the current branch, which is feature, is allowed, proceeding with the commit. And we're going to exit with 0, and that will allow the hook to complete with a exit code allowing the commit to actually be committed. And that's pretty much it for the check_branch.py. And then at this point, so once you do that, you're going to go ahead and run pre-commit install. And I had already done that. And what that's just going to do is it's essentially just going to create inside of our Git repository under hooks. We have a pre-commit, and that's going to create this file here. And what that is going to do essentially is it's going to run these arguments here, pretty much just a shell script. And so as you can see here, we have our install Python, which is set to our executable or Python executable. And we have our arguments that are passed through here. And what this is, it's just going to be the arguments that we had just defined within the YAML file here. And the hook type is going to be pre-commit. And we're just going to go ahead and get the directory and going to set the arguments. And it's going to be a, down here we're going to do some additional conditional statements. And if Python, then it'll obviously install Python. And then I'll just run out the arguments. And then it's saying, obviously the else statement, if pre-commit not found, did you forget to activate your virtual environment? And I'll give you that output here with an exit code of 1. So just to highlight how this works, so if we just go into git status, right now we are on our feature branch, so let's go to git branch or git checkout master. And as you can see, we're on our master branch now. And then if we go over to hello.py, and we'll go in here, we'll just change it, and we'll say subscribe today to CyberMe. We'll save that out, go down to the terminal, hit git status, and obviously there's going to be some changes that we need to make here. So ignore this too, so this I'll explain in a minute as well. But on the, so right here, changes not staged for commit, so we're going to go ahead and now add this to be staged, and we'll just do git add hello.py. We'll run git status again, and we should see now it is changes to be committed. So let's go ahead and run git commit-m, and we'll just say pushing major change for subscription users. And we should get failed. So now we see warning, hook ID, which is what we had named it. Check branch uses that. Oh, this is just for the warning, sorry. So the next thing we're going to see is prevent commits on master branch, and that's failed. And the hook ID here, as I was just saying, is the check branch and the exit code of 1. And here's the description that we had provided. So now at this point, we go ahead and do git branch, and we're still in the master branch. So let's go ahead and do git checkout feature. There we go. So now we just had removed it from stage, and it is no longer stage for commit. So we switched over to our feature branch, and now if we run, do the same thing. So here we have hello worlds. Okay, and now if we save this file and we again do git status, we'll see we have a change to be modified. Go do git run git commit-m with the commit message saying a major change to hello.py, and you see that we had passed because we are no longer on the master branch. And the only other difference that I had done in this example, unlike the master branch, is I created a .git ignore file, and in there you could go ahead and you could ignore the different files. So in this case, I did not want to, if I were to push this to my remote repository, you know, I'm not going to want to put that there, especially if it's on something that I'm collaborating with others. Maybe they're not going to want to pull this down, or they have something else that may conflict with this. So that's just an example. We go ahead and you could create a git ignore, and you could prevent any of those files getting pushed to your remote repository. All right, and for the last or the second example that I'm going to provide for this is just another pre-commit, but in this case we're not going to go ahead and reference any local Python files. In this case we're going to go ahead and reference a remote GitHub repository, 3 of them to be exact. So the first one we're going to go ahead and do is going to be this pre-commit hooks here, and then identified by these hooks here with version 4.4. This is not the latest version, but I will highlight what exactly this is, and then we're going to go ahead and reference Black and Flake8. So let's go ahead and pull that up now. All right, so here's the 3 GitHub repositories. So the first one being the pre-commit hooks. So in this case, we're just going to reference like the trailing white spaces, and you could kind of see exactly what it does. So the preserve markdown, pretty straightforward. By default, this hook trims all white space from the ends of lines, and you could specify some custom options. But this is pretty cool. Just another thing that you could add to your toolbox. The next one is Black. This one's cool too, because this one actually modifies the files. So the uncompromising code formatter, and essentially what it does here, it kind of gives a brief explanation here, saying it is the uncompromising Python code formatter. By using it, you agree to cede control over the formatting, and return Black gives you speed, determinism, and freedom from PyCode style, nagging about any formatting issues. So that's pretty cool. It makes those changes for you, and then you could go ahead and commit it. It says it does it in the smallest commits, so kind of it makes it easier for you to navigate those changes as you continue on. So that's pretty cool. And then the next one is Flake8, and this is just a wrapper around these tools, and you can look these up. Kind of the same thing here with PyCode style, but then you got PyFlakes and the McCabe script. With that being said, this was just an example of what's going on here. This is not something that you may run. There's obviously other things that you could do as far as linting and stuff like that, but I just want to kind of highlight what you could do and how you could push stuff to the left before getting into the repository, maybe running different CI or CD or anything like that. These are things that you could do before you even get there, making it even quicker in the development process, and just helping you out before you push to your remote repository. So yeah, what this is going to do, so we have an example.py here, and let's go ahead and I'm going to revert this back to the original configuration so you can see what happens. All right, so right now this is the original example.py. So there's going to be some changes here, so just to note them here. So we have some improper formatting of this. There's supposed to be spaces here according to, I guess, the standard of PEP8. There's supposed to be some spacing here as well, and a few other small things. Again, this is just an example, but if we go ahead and run git commit, first let's add it, and then commit it. We should see that it failed. And as you can see, so we got trim trailing white space that passed, fix end of files that passed, which was the other thing that was inside of the first hook. And then we have Black, and that's where it fails. And that's for what we had talked about in reference to the code formatter. So what it does here, if you go ahead and notice now that this is now corrected or fixed by Black, it automatically does that. So if you run git status, you'll see we now have the changes not staged for commit, and this is the one that we had previously set to commit. So if we just go ahead and run git add example.py again, and now we run git commit, you should see that we should get all 4 passes, and now we have passed all 4 hooks. Alright, so that's going to close out today's video. I hope you were able to take something away. Today was just an example of what you could do with as far as pre-hooks or pre-commit hooks. There's a few others that you could obviously do. You got pre-push, you got rebase, and you got a few others. Definitely useful. There's some other people out there that say maybe it's not useful and there's other ways around it. I just find it useful as a solo developer, and it definitely helps within my professional environment, doing some things before I push to the remote repository, just checking a few things, linting and stuff like that, and even security checks, which is something you could do and integrate with like SonarQube and stuff like that. But that's going to close out today's video. I hope you were able to take something away. As always, never stop learning.